Hi guys, welcome back to Tommy Lee and Me. So today's vlog I will be talking about one of Tommy Lee's toys misses here. So today I will be talking about breastfeeding. So I wrote out a little list and I wanted to make sure that I talked about everything. So I think what I'm going to do is split breastfeeding into 2 videos, just so I can touch on everything. And then if you want to know or want like a deeper detailed video on certain topics, make sure you comment below. I'm going to put the time that I started talking about each topic, so that if you could just fast forward, right there, so you can fast forward to that section if that's what you're looking for. If you want me to talk about anything else that's not even in this video, just put the comment or message me and let me know, and we can definitely do that. Say hi to everyone. So the first topic is latching on. When it comes to latching on, I know I've always heard stories of parents who have a difficult time getting the baby to latch on. What I want you to know is that it's supposed to be an instinctual thing. If you're having a difficulty getting the baby to latch on, a few tips for things that you can do to help try to get the baby to latch on. So what you can do is you can change the position that you're feeding the baby. So normally, say if this is the baby, normally how I fed Tommy Lee, I would put my boppy pillow. I would get my boppy pillow. This is useful when you're like a month in, because before that it kind of hurts your stomach and it like pushes on your stomach. So I get my boppy pillow and I get Tommy Lee and I sit him in this position. That was fine for us. But some other moms, sometimes when I'm like if I was sitting on the couch and I didn't feel like having the pillow on my stomach, I would sit him on the couch and I'd sit him like this. I think this is called a football position. Yeah, because you hold him like a football. Yeah. So the football position works too. Another position you can try, this is what I do when I'm asleep or when I was really tired and I didn't feel like holding him. I'd be in the bed and I just kind of turn to the side and like prop his head and just lay him, and I'd be laying down and he would feed like that. So it really just takes trying different positions, seeing what your baby likes, because not every baby is the same. Some babies like to feed one position, some like to feed another. Just figuring out what your baby likes, that's really helpful. I think a lot of moms make the mistake of listening to everything they hear and feeling as if they have to do things the same way everyone else has done them. And that's one thing that I hated thinking about when I had my son or when I was pregnant, because you know you're gonna get a lot of advice, you're gonna get a lot of people telling you what you should and should not do, but ultimately it's what you want to do as a parent and what you feel is right and what you feel is comfortable and what your child tells you. So listen to the child, don't listen to everyone else about everything, okay? So that's lactation positions. Okay, one important thing that I learned, I already knew this, but I just tested it out to see if it was real. When you're unlatching the baby, never just take the baby and pull him off your boob, because guess what? Your nipple is going to go with the baby and it's just going to stretch, and if they're at the point where they're sore, then you're going to hate the fact that you just did that. So the trick that we learned in nursing school, you take your finger and you slide it while the baby's on, you slide it into the side of their mouth and pop your nipple out, and boom, you have an unlatched baby. A lot of cases where parents may have a hard time getting the baby to latch on, usually I hear is if the child either had to go to the NICU or they were in the hospital for an extended amount of time and they were away from the mom. But in my case, because I had a natural birth, I went full term. I didn't encounter any problems, but I know that may not be the case for some other moms, which is okay. It just takes a lot of trying and a lot of hard work, and hopefully you guys can have that experience together. With Tommy Lee, I didn't really have any problems. He came out like smacking his lips already. So my midwife just gave him to me and she said, okay, try to see if he'll latch on. And at first I thought he was latched on wrong, because in nursing school they always say that the entire, or a large amount of the areola is supposed to be in the baby's mouth, and you tilt the head back and have your nipple lined up with their nose so that it like goes in the mouth correctly. I didn't remember any of that when I first latched Tommy on. So I just put him at the breast and he got onto my nipple. I felt like he was just on the nipple and didn't really have the areola in his mouth, but it was working for him. So I was like, is he eating? Is he eating? You can hear me saying that in the video. And she was like, yeah, it's fine. So then she took my nipple, she squeezed it to see if the colostrum would come out, and it did. So she was like, yeah, he's fine. So we let him do that. So you guys know what colostrum is. Okay, colostrum is what comes out the first 3 days or so. It's the first liquid that comes out of your breast for the first 3 days. What's in this colostrum is antibodies. It's full of immune boosters, nutrients, vitamins, minerals, and it's basically to serve as the coating for the baby's digestive system, because it's the first thing to pass through them. Now, typically your milk comes in on the 3rd day, and you will know that it came in because your boobs tend to grow about 3 times their size. I know when my milk came in, Lee's head was smaller than my boob, and they were like hard. I just didn't know how to deal with that. My first encounter with feeding schedule, I was originally doing it wrong, and I was so confused as to what I was supposed to do and like when I was supposed to feed him, when I was supposed to switch my boobs, because I always hear moms say, okay, they may switch during feeding, but I learned that you shouldn't do that. Okay, so originally what I would do is I thought I was supposed to feed him on one breast, and then say if he stops in 30 minutes, if he's hungry again, I'd feed him again on the same breast if the boob wasn't empty. And then say if he goes down for a nap and this boob, he still hadn't completely emptied it, when he woke up, I'd feed him off the same one. I originally thought that was great because this one was filling up, it'd be ready for him, but that was really bad because I actually ended up getting mastitis in my left boob because the milk was just sitting there. I ended up getting a plug duct, which is what mastitis is, and it hurt. Like, I felt like I had a fever, I had chills, I was tired, and I was just like, I can't take this and having to like recuperate from just having a baby. So the correct way, well, what worked for me and what I read about other moms doing and what still worked for me, because now I'm 11 months in and it's been working fine. So what I do is I don't completely empty the breast. What I do is, say he feeds on my right side. Now that I'm pumping, I'll get into pumping later, but when I wasn't, he'd feed on this right side. Say if he went down for a nap that was about 2 hours and he woke up and he was hungry, then he gets the other one. So when you make the mistake of switching in between, or like switching during one feeding session, you feed him on one, feeding on the other, there's such thing as foremilk and hind milk, I believe that's how you call it. So foremilk is the milk that comes out first. This milk is usually very watery, very clear looking. You'll get to see that if you start pumping, but if you don't, then you probably wouldn't have an idea of what it looks like. So it's very watery. It's pretty much all the water. And then what comes after is the hind milk, which is all the fat, the nutrients, and the vitamins and minerals. That's what comes out after. And then if you pump, you can see, like if you let it sit in the refrigerator, you'll see like this coat, or like the fat all like globs up at the top, and you gotta shake it up to get it loose. But yeah, so I would advise not switching the baby to the other breast in between sessions, because it's such thing as a foremilk and hind milk mix up. And if I do a video on, if you want me to do a video on that, then I can get into more detail. But right now I'm just trying to touch everything. That also touched on breast rotation too. So another thing that's helpful, I learned that if you have a scrunchie, and it helps you to remember which breast you last fed the baby on, because you think that you will remember, but sometimes you forget, especially when I'm sleeping. But I really just don't do this thing for when I'm sleeping. But I thought it was a helpful tip. So say if I fed him on this boob, I'd put the scrunchie on here so I know that this is the last boob I fed him on, so that I need to switch over. So what exactly is mastitis? Mastitis is, so when you get a clogged duct, it can lead to infection. It can lead to inflammation first, then infection. Inflammation, you'll see things like redness, soreness to the touch, fever, chills, malaise. Those are just the general ones. And I thought, I kind of knew what was going on because once again, I learned about it in nursing school. But I know for some moms who may not feel like, or who may not be educated on that, they may feel like something's wrong or like they have to go to the hospital. So the point where you would head to the doctor or to the ER is if your fever, you're at over 101.4. That's like the gold standard that they always teach us in the hospital, 101.4. Mine wasn't up there. I was like 99, 100. And then, so I called my midwife and I let her know what was going on. And the key to the thing that I already knew was that if I do develop mastitis, to continue nursing from the breast. Do not stop, because that's what's going to help unclog that duct. And that's what you need. The baby, there's nothing wrong with your milk. It's just a plugged duct. So you need to continue letting the baby feed, or at least pump, so that the milk flows through and it unclogs the duct. As for the fever and the chills and malaise, I called my midwife. I let her know what was going on. And she said, you already know what this is, Marissa. What do you have? And I told her that I had some ibuprofen. I am not a doctor. I am not recommending that you take ibuprofen. You need to seek medical attention or contact your midwife. But that's what worked for me, and that's what my midwife told me to do. So yeah, I took ibuprofen probably every 4 to 6 hours, and I was fine. Probably within 2 days, it completely went away. I just made sure I kept nursing from that breast. And then warm showers also helped to with the pain. So it can potentially lead to infection, and I think those are the cases where some moms feel like it hurts so much that they don't want to nurse on it. So I'm advising that you do. It's important that you continue to nurse. For the rest of this video, I'm going to talk about back to the nipples and nursing and latching on. So it has come to my attention that a lot of moms usually ask me when I'm pumping, does it hurt? Or breastfeeding, does it hurt? So the truth, for those of you watching, you probably already know, yes, it hurts. But that's just in the first week or 7 to 10 days. It's supposed to hurt. If you're new to breastfeeding, then your nipples haven't adjusted to, they aren't used to a little baby sucking on them, so they have to adjust. And in order for them to do so, the baby has to continue to latch on. You have to continue to do whatever you're doing. But we often make the mistake of thinking that breastfeeding hurts for the entire time that you're doing it, or that pumping hurts for the entire time, for the entire experience. A lot of moms say they don't breastfeed. Well, they started to, but then it hurt, so they stopped. There's nothing wrong with that. That's your preference. That's your opinion. And I'm not here to bash anyone. But I feel like if we were more educated on the topic, on the subject, and we were to know and have more support, then it'd probably be easier for a lot of moms to continue to get over that hump, and it wouldn't hurt. It stopped hurting. So that's why I'm here. I want to help you guys. I want to educate you. I want to get you guys to give your babies the best thing that you can ever give them, which is breast milk. Not to knock anyone who's on formula, because that's good too. Some babies end up not latching on, or the mom can't produce milk. So I understand and I sympathize with you mommies. So for that first 7 to 10 days, this product was my best friend. It's called Lanolin, HPA Lanolin. My midwife told me about this, and it honestly was my best friend. Comes in a little purple bottle. Mine's is kind of flat because I used a lot of it. So I would just lather this thing on, and it's safe for the baby. See, I just get that much, and I just keep squeezing until I felt like I had completely lathered it on. Sometimes Tommy Lee would have like this stuff all over his mouth, but it was fine for him. 100% natural and hypoallergenic. So that helped a lot, because I know some moms, they like the nipple may chap and start bleeding and peeling. The key is to keep it moisturized with something that's safe for the baby and safe for you. So I definitely recommend this. So like I said, the first 7 to 10 days, that's expected. Like I said in my intro video, I thought we were always taught that breastfeeding shouldn't hurt, or maybe the baby's latched on wrong. But it's so necessary for you to go through that first period, get over that hump in the first 7 to 10 days. Another thing I just remember, the pain was so bad for me. I used to have to hold my boyfriend's hand and like curl my toes every time Tommy latched on. But it's like once the first few seconds of him latching on was over, then I was good and I could do it. But just thinking about it, I was just and what else did I want to talk about? Oh, okay. So people associate, I said that people associate pumping with your nipples hurting. And I figured it out because I couldn't figure out why the pump was hurting these moms. And it's because if you start pumping too early, then you're gonna be pumping during that period where your nipple is hurting, or it's adjusting. And then you kind of make that association with, if I'm pumping, then my nipple will hurt, and then that kind of turns you off from pumping or turns you off from breastfeeding. So once again, I definitely recommend, I know I read about this and I did some research when I was looking for pacifiers, but it's recommended that you don't start pumping unless it's like medically necessary, or you have to because you have to return to work. Then I can understand. It's important, like you probably shouldn't start pumping for that first, at least let a month go by. I recommend a month going by, because it gives you a chance to adjust, your nipples a chance to adjust. It gives you and the baby time to bond within that first month. So he knows you, he knows your milk's adjusting to him or her, and it won't put that negative association of pain and pumping together, and you'll be more inclined to do it. So yeah, I waited a month. And it was just simply because I wanted to start storing, which is what my next video will be on. That's it for part 1. If you want to know what part 2 is going to be on, it's pumping. Everything that I use to pump, how I got started, like how often I pump, how to store and use the pumped milk, and how to transition from milk to food. Tommy just woke up from his nap. That's why he wasn't in the beginning of the video. Yes. Yay! Okay, you gonna play with your toys while mommy finishes? Yeah? Okay, so thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for our next one. Make sure you go watch part 2 so you can get any information on that if you need it. Bye. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Oh.